Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Show. I'm your host, Joseph Decker. I want to thank everybody for tuning in here early today. A little bit of a shorter scheduled show. We didn't really have this too planned. I talked to Coach Haworth over the past few days, wanted to get him on and talk all about male basketball, and I'm excited for the show today, man. Coach Haworth, I've had him on here. I think this is probably appearance number 3 or 4 now, so he's getting onto that Mount Rushmore of most appeared and legendary guests we've ever had, so I'm excited to have him on. But Coach Haworth, man, how have you been? I'm excited to have you on. How's dead period been treating you? I have to ask.
It's been really good. A lot of family time. We were able to go to Kings Island for the last couple of days with the kids. And wife really enjoyed it, and we had a great time.
Coach, I have to talk about one thing, and that's for sure. Kind of talk to me a little bit about this. It's been a very eventful summer for you guys. You ended up going 17-0, undefeated. You've played all around the state, a lot in Louisville. You guys had a very successful live period. I believe you guys went 4-0. So kind of tell me about these games this summer, how your team looks, and who's some guys that's standing out to you that the state needs to be on watch for.
Well, obviously Cole, he's a Mr. Basketball candidate. Just had a tremendous summer for us. Really defended well and did all the things that it takes to win basketball games. And, obviously last year, our season got a little derailed, with him going out after the first 4 games. And so, anytime that a player of that caliber goes out, it's going to hurt your team. But, I think it was able to grow up a lot of guys. And, I thought Jordan Mitchell had a great freshman season for us last year. He really came on and he had a great summer for us. James, who picked up an offer from Campbellsville. I think he's the best on-ball defender in the state. And I think Trey Helrick is just, he's going to be one of the top players, I think in the country, not only in the state. He 6'10", can guard pick and rolls. You can switch out with him. You can play drop coverage with him. He's just a tremendous defender, and then he's able to score and do some other things as well. And then, of course, we got, Corn, backup point guard that came in, Devin Hunter, all those guys are tremendous, just tremendously well in the offseason and in the summer.
You talked about James a little bit, Coach. He got his first offer to Campbellsville. And, me and you have talked before, and I've talked to James. In my mind, James is a potentially low major Division I prospect. Athleticism, his size, his body, the way he plays. He's got a lot of things that you just can't teach. And, James was one of those guys who I know it was earlier in summer ball before the live period in Louisville was having some of his best games of his career. We're talking 24, 25 consistently, assists, rebounds, just playing some of his best basketball. How much easier it is on you as a coach to have a guy like James Clark on your roster, not just on the defensive end, because we know he's able to guard the best player on the opposing team every game, but offensively, say maybe Cole or Jordan, their shots not falling, they're not able to create, all the focus is on them, but you have another guard like James Clark who's able to take it to the rim, score, and be a number 1 option. If he's on almost any other team than Louisville Male, he's a 25-point per game scorer possibly, and he can honestly still do that consistently with you guys when things happen. So tell me a little bit all about the impact that James Clark makes on this team.
He's a great 3-point shooter. He can also drive to the basket and, and he can create for other guys. But just having somebody that's that athletic and able to finish in transition is huge, just because it's going to get you 6 or 8 points, just getting the ball up and him just attacking the rim. So, if you can get 8 points a game by him just running in transition, it's huge, especially when it comes down to district and region time when everybody's scouted each other and everybody knows each other's plays. You got to try to get easy buckets.
You mentioned region and district time when things get closer to, January through March. The 7th region is a little different than last year, not just because you guys as a region lost a lot of talent, but there's a lot of new head coaches in the area and some familiar faces. Coach Tim Riley comes from the 3rd region to the 7th region to coach Christian Academy Louisville. And, that's going to be a dangerous team that no one wants to play in that time. Same with Coach Morrow with Eastern, leaving Iroquois, going to Eastern. He's got a new transfer in, Damian Jung, big 6'9", big guy. So a lot of these teams have new faces, but they also have new head coaches and guys behind the helm. the seventh region's always been kind of the number one region. It's kind of held on a different pedestal. It has so much respect, and it just got a lot better. How do you feel going into the region play and the district play and looking at the seventh region early about the talent, not just the talent, but some of these new coaches? How do you think it'll affect, the games and how things go? And, do you think that the seventh region is going to take much of a drop off, or do you think it'll be just as strong as years past?
To be just as strong. I have a lot of respect for those coaches you just mentioned. Tim Riley's been a good friend of mine for a long time. He's at Warren Central and Owensboro Catholic, and so I have a lot of respect. He's one of the best coaches in the state, and so all the new faces. Obviously, the seventh region is loaded, and we feel like as far as well, all we got to do is keep getting back. I think it potentially has a chance to be one of the best teams I've ever coached. But that's just potential right now. So we have to keep working hard, staying in that weight room, getting up shots, getting our ball handling in, all the stuff that it takes to, become an elite player, and then trying to encompass that and try to bring it into the team concept. And so, I like our talent level. I love our chemistry. We got really good kids. And so I feel like we have a chance to be one of the best teams in the state.
Coach, you mentioned that, and that was the next question I want to talk to you about. We've talked before behind the scenes, behind the cameras, and you say, I think we've even mentioned it on the show before, you've usually got a pretty good idea and a pretty good instinct to tell when you have a team that's able to compete for state, a team that can compete at the highest level. I think we lost it for 1 second there. Can you hear me, Coach?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, perfect. I was kind of saying there, I was kind of looping that question back to what you said earlier. You usually have a really good idea and telling of being able to be like, hey, this team can compete at the state tournament level. This team can win region. This team is a legit state title contender. And we've talked about it before. Like I said, you've had some teams where you've been able to judge, well, I don't think we're at that level. You've had some teams where you're like, for sure we can compete at that level. Is this one of those teams that you feel can compete all the way into deep March and win the state tournament if everything kind of goes planned and things click right?
Yeah, and last year, at this time, I really thought if we could have stayed healthy, we would have had a legit shot again. And obviously, the teams that stay healthy in the seventh region are the teams that's going to be able to come out. It's going to be hard for any team to take a significant injury and then come out. I've had a couple of teams that could, like my 2020 team, we ended up with 71s. Well, Howard was out for the majority of that year, but we had a bunch of other guys that could go in and were division players. And so various teams like that were really deep. But I think if we can stay healthy, as good as any team in the state.
We talk about those other teams, Coach, in the state. You've really had to focus on you guys in mail a lot. You've not had a lot of times maybe to go out and scout and watch other games too early. But I know you've got to see some teams and kind of get an idea for his other teams. When you're looking in the outside, a lot of fans, a lot of insiders, people who keep up with Kentucky high school basketball, obviously mail is a favorite, but there's other teams like St. X, Madison Central, Bryan Station, Frederick Douglass, Caverna now with their new loaded roster. Who are some other teams, Coach, that you kind of look at from the outside and say, look, these could be other teams that we're not just going to have to compete at, possibly at the state level, but we have to compete with at our region? Who's some of those other teams that you look at this year that you think have a chance and don't necessarily intimidate you, but they have some strong rosters that could compete with you guys?
I think you always have to start in the seventh region with Ballard, Trinity, St. X, Cal is going to be really good. Eastern, I think all those teams have the potential to be really good basketball teams and, could win a region. And, outside in the state, we were able to play George Rogers Clark, who I thought was a really good team. They got really good length. And then, Frederick Douglass, I got a chance to see them play a little bit. They're really good. And so, I think there's always about 10 teams that I think, has a legit shot to, maybe win it. And then you look on the outside, there'll be a team in the state that nobody's talking about. And then they get a good draw at the state tournament. And then next thing you know, you're in the Final Four and then you're close to winning a state title. So I think a lot of things go into it, getting the right matchups in the state tournament, getting a good draw, having some good luck, all that, just because it's a one game tournament. And so when that happens, you're going to have some good luck as well.
For sure, Coach. You mentioned earlier 7 Division I players from that 2020 team. Some may have had to go the JUCO route. Some of them maybe had a walk-on year. Some of them's had to go through some things. But there are 7 Division I guys from that 2020 team who's playing Division I basketball. Talk to me about some of those guys, and how do you keep up with those guys? Is it kind of constant communication? Do you talk to those guys on the daily, maybe once a week? I know Caleb Glenn was one of those guys. He recently just went down with an injury. Have you kind of been there? How have you kind of been there to help him a little bit, talk to him, reassure him? Just kind of tell me about, dealing with these guys who made it to the next level and how frequent you are still kind of staying in their life and in contact.
Yeah, so we got Howard Fleming at UNLV. I'm probably going to go out and see him in about a week or so. And then we got Dez at Oregon. Caleb's at Michigan State. Jake went to Northern Kentucky. Cam went to Jacksonville State. Michi's at Eastern Illinois. Jack is at Western Kentucky. Then am I forgetting one here? And so, Tyron Moore, he's at Georgia Southern. And, Tyron got Region 7 Player of the Year. So I try to stay in contact with all my guys, even the ones that's not playing college basketball. Of course, it's hard to do. The older you get, the more up in years, you have so many players out there. I even talked to some of my Hoptown guys today, Josh Patton and Q Cager, and so I try to stay in contact with those guys. As far as Caleb goes, try to encourage him, that it's a bump in the road. It's a patella tendon. So he'll make a full recovery from that, and so he'll basically use this year as a red shirt. Dez playing high level basketball out in Oregon, I just try to encourage him to go in and approach practice and, off season workouts very hard every day and try to be the best that he can be, so.
It's still crazy to look back. COVID I know it's something that's sensitive for you probably to talk about sometimes, but COVID really robbed us of a really good team, man. So to see those guys still be able to go out there and do what they're doing today, COVID was a big bump in the road, I think, for everybody. And to see them overcome that's big time and kind of see where they made it this year. I know Caleb Glenn, we were all excited to see him in the Big Ten. But, like you said, just a bump in the road. He's going to make a full recovery. He'll be fine. Playing for Tom Izzo, someone like that's it's one of the biggest honors you can get. Coach, we talk about college athletes, guys you've coached at the next level. 2 new guys, Jason Gassaway and Keyshawn Jordan, going to play at the next level from last year's team. Jason Gassaway was a guy, I think, who kind of came onto a lot of people's scenes. People knew how good of a player he was, but not that good. Now he's going on to play college basketball, I believe, at Midway. I think he's got a chance to be an instant impact player, a guy who can move up and, not just necessarily move up, in his positioning, but maybe to a better league, maybe to another level. He's a hard worker, I can tell. And then Keyshawn Jordan finally making his decision to play at the next level. Talk about those 2 guys, where they're going and how you expect them to make impacts at the next level and how much of a joy it was to coach them this past season.
Keyshawn, he improved as much as any kid I've ever coached. I think he was like our 8th or 9th man on our freshman team. Sophomore year, he gets in the state tournament game, gets a dunk, but he wasn't a huge part of our teams, and then started as a junior and senior. So it was just a testament to how hard he worked, and how much better he got. And then Jason, a 3-year starter for us, just was, awesome from the time that he got here as a freshman all the way to his senior year. Jason, I'm super excited about both those guys and seeing what they're going to be able to accomplish in college. And, anytime you can get your school paid for, it's a success. And so
Yeah.
I'm pumped about what they're able to do.
Coach, the development of Cole Edlin has been another guy who's really moved up and got better kind of consistently. You got to look at him this offseason, not just playing with you guys in the summer league, but what he's doing on the AAU circuit. Had a huge game today against Kentucky Ambition, played really well, had people from all over social media talking about it. And it's kind of been like that all summer. He had a 30-point game, I believe, this summer in Texas. No, I believe it was in Iowa in front of a lot of Division I coaches, man. He's received offers. He finally got a high major offer from a school like Pittsburgh. He holds multiple mid-majors, Western, College of Charleston. His decision will come. It could be soon. It could be later in the year. It could be after high school. We don't really know that yet, Coach, but, kind of talk about watching Cole Edlin grow in front of you and the player he's become, and why do you think he has so much respect, not just around the state, but around the country? What makes him different than other players?
He's going to be – he's close to 2,000 points already, and that's basically missing his whole junior year. And it was so unfortunate because he was off to such a great start. He was averaging 26 points and 8 assists as a junior, and then he misses. That's 4 games in. We were 4-0, and then he misses pretty much the whole year. He tries to come back. I knew at the time when he came back, he was only at 50%. Most kids in this day and age would just go ahead and set it out because they don't want to be embarrassed by somebody. They know that they're not 100%, so they'll just set it out. So I have to give the utmost respect to Cole for even coming back and trying to play. And that's what he wanted to do. And, so I respected him a lot just for trying to get back out there on the court. And then you could tell that in the beginning of Summer League, he was at 100% again. And like you said, the AAU circuit, he's been killing. And so, I think he's the front runner for Mr. Basketball. I've never had a Mr. Basketball player. Would love to have one. And so, I think he's the front runner for that this year. The thing that I was so impressed with him in the summer is that he did all the things that helped his team win. He defended, he rebounded, he did things, set guys up, give them easy buckets. I told him being a great player is trying to get everybody else involved, like a Trey Helrick, who's going to be one of the top players in the country. Let's go ahead as a sophomore. Let's get him 3 or 4 easy baskets. Jordan Mitchell, who's going to be one of the top players in the country in his class as well. Let's go ahead and give him 3 or 4 buckets to get him going. And James Clark and Corn when these guys check in the game. And so it's just elevating people around you. That's what greatness is. It's not necessarily, a lot of people in this day and age is about numbers. And there's a lot of guys that can go get numbers, but can you make everybody else around you better?
And coach, coming in and seeing Cole, last year, there was a small sample size, obviously, with him coming back from the injury. He wasn't 100%. So I didn't want to say, let's judge Cole how he is now, because I knew it wasn't fully 100% Cole, but seeing him kind of develop and grow as a point guard, seeing the way he's able to play the one out there and college is recruiting him at that level was something that I really liked about Cole. You mentioned getting players better, getting them to their spots. That was a big thing that I really enjoyed watching Cole do. I want to talk about Trey Hillerich a little more. He received his first Division I offer as just a sophomore in the 2028 class to Eastern Tennessee State University, ETSU. And that's a big-time offer, man, because they've had a lot of really, really, really good basketball players. They have another Kentucky player right now in Maddox Huff. They always are moving guys up to bigger schools. They're always winning. They're always competing. So it's a really good school, to kind of add as your first offer. And for your first offer to be Division I still is a really, really big deal, Coach. You've coached other big men. You've coached other guys with size before. What about Trey stands out to you? And, for his age, what are some things, not just that stands out about him, but stuff that he's maybe doing at a way too advanced age, things that these guys shouldn't be doing until maybe going into their senior year or maybe at the college level? Talk about some of that, man. And, get him getting that first offer. What does that mean?
Coach Jamarion Sharp, who's playing for the Dallas Mavericks now. And Trey is way ahead of him at this stage of his career. Just the way he moves his feet. He's smart. He's skilled. He can handle the ball. He can shoot it. He can post. There's really nothing Trey can't do. Now it's just about, can he get in the gym and get up 500 to 1,000 shots a day, 3-pointers, step out, move his game out to the 3-point line, also be able to take guys off the dribble, and then also use that size because he's 6'10" to be able to go and post up. And then defensively, he's already an elite level college type of player defensively. Yeah. His help side defense is amazing. We were playing Toledo Central Catholic. They have 3 high major kids. He was inside the paint. They threw a ball. We got mixed up on a rotation. He closed out. He was in the paint and help side. Mm-hmm. They skipped it to the opposite side, and he still got a piece of the ball. And so that was kind of like the play of the summer for me. Just remembering that, I was like, wow, he's got high Division I length. When you have a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan, it helps you out a lot.
How is it with Trey? You know him a lot better than some people. Do you think the growing is done? Could we see Trey continue to grow? Is there a chance he becomes a 7-footer? How do you see that, Coach?
Yeah, I think there's a high chance he's going to be over 7 feet. And so he gets to that, it's like, okay, you're going to be able to pick where you go to school at because he's so if he doesn't grow another inch, he's a high major player right now. But if he grows two more inches and he's 7 foot, college coaches love to see that. So
For sure, coach. The team is young. There's some young spots. You got seniors, obviously, that lead the team with Cole and James, but it's obviously a young team. We talked about Jordan Mitchell, Trey Hillerich, Jackson Stripe, Mason Calhoun, Jaden Johnson. That's 5 guys right there that could be a starting lineup at the varsity level, but man, none of them's older than a sophomore. So you got a lot of young talent, coach. Have you ever had a team like this that's had so much young talent and a team that maybe you've had to rely on younger guys so much? Is this something new to you? Have you had this before, maybe at Hoptown or a former mill team? Talk to me about that a little bit.
This is one of the most talented groups. You talk about Jaden Johnson. I think he has a chance to be one of the best players to ever come through Mail. 6'4", just does everything the right way. Jackson Strike, super talented, 6'8". He puts 15 more pounds on his body. I'm hoping to get him 15 more pounds before the season starts. He does that, then when we play high level teams, he's going to be able to play.
Yeah.
Uh, and he's young. He's super skilled. I think both of those guys have a chance to be Division One. Mason Calhoun is probably the best guard that I've seen as a set. Actually, he scored 2 points in the King of the Bluegrass, and he was actually 12 years old. He didn't turn 13 until Christmas Day, and so he's one of the most talented guards I've ever seen. He's smart. He gets in the gym. He stays working. Nick Curry Hill,
Yeah.
sophomore we have, long, athletic. Like Nick is going to be, the thing about it is when you're this young, hopefully, you stay patient as well because a lot of times people, they want things to happen right now. Des Lindsay, as a sophomore, he played 7 games. He played in 7 games, played about 15 minutes the whole year. He could have easily went and transferred somewhere. His parents said, "Hey, we believe in what you're doing. We believe in getting our kid into college." He stayed, and now he's at Oregon. And
Yeah.
so, you get guys like Trenton Crook, who's a sophomore. He's going to be super talented. Trenton, Nick, Mesa, all those dudes, like they're college basketball players, and so when you got college players that are advancing, that are getting better, then you have a chance to be really good as a team. So it's one of the best class. That sophomore class is one of the best classes I've ever had.
Yeah, coach, you've been around a lot of Kentucky talent, man. You know it better than a lot of people, not just today's talent level, but the talent in the past. You talk about coaching guys like Jamarion Sharp. You had to go up against that tough, loaded Western Kentucky region when he was going up against Kai Kai Tandy, and that you've been around a lot of talent, man, and talent in the state of Kentucky just about as better as anyone is what I'm trying to say here. How does today's talent pool and the talent level in Kentucky compare to the past? What makes players better today? What's different about them? Last year we sent about 20 kids Division 1. What makes today's talent different and what makes the athlete different, you think?
Well, you know what? I think the game has changed so much, even in the last 10 years. And so it's more of a finesse game. Pick and pop, shoot threes. It's kind of like the NBA. So I think that guys, you don't have to necessarily be as athletic in today's game. What you have to do is you got to be skilled. You got to be able to shoot it. Got to be able to handle it. And so, whereas before maybe like even a guy like me that played at Murray State, I would have probably been better in this era because I wasn't as athletic than I would have been back playing in the early 2000s. And so I think a lot of thing has to do with rules. And then, I think that a lot of times it's a great testament. Like 20 years ago, probably somebody probably needed, if you were an elite level player, you probably needed to go to prep school. It's not really the case anymore. You got a kid like Reed Shepard that's at North Laurel. 2 years later, he's in the NBA. Malachi Moreno stays at Great Crossings. He's at Kentucky. Travis Perry, Mr. Basketball, is at Lyon County. He stays in Kentucky. He stays at his school, and he ends up getting recruited to go to UK. And the reason for that is because of social media, AAU teams, all this stuff. You're going to get seen. We got 8 guys playing Division One college basketball, but like you said, we've got other guys playing college basketball, NAIA Division Two. I'm not sure there's another school in the state that has 8 guys playing Division One college basketball. You know what I'm saying? So we take pride in that and helping develop guys and get guys to where they need to get to. But at the end of the day, it's really not about me. It's more about the player and how much time they put into it. Because I can sit here and talk to you all day about what you need to do, but at some point, you have to decide whether you want to do it or not. And the ones that do and are tough enough to take it and to take coaching, those are the ones that are very successful.
Coach, talking about Louisville Male, and when you talk about schools that have the most history, when you kind of sit down and maybe have to decide who's the mecca, who's the kind of standard in Kentucky high school basketball, I'd say about 7 to 8 people out of 10 are going to say Louisville Male. It's kind of the Kentucky, the UCLA, the Duke of Kentucky high school basketball. When you took this job, there was obviously probably a lot of weight on your shoulders. You had a lot of history you had to stand up to. You had to compete. You couldn't have one of those 1 to 2 years off to develop guys. You had to compete right away. Let's go back in time to Tim Haworth leaving Hopkinsville and going to Louisville Male. If you looked back on that today, are you proud of the success you've had? Have you reached some of the goals? Have you maybe won some of the games you wanted to win? How do you ultimately feel? How have you enjoyed this tenure at Male, and how do you feel about it? And how have you enjoyed it?
Man, you know what? I've loved it. I
Mhm.
feel like I've got the best athletic director in the state. I've got the best principal. So I've got Keith Cathy, our principal, John Kelsey, our athletic director.
Mhm.
And you know what? Like Male, he told me from day one, like we're at Hopkinsville, we go to 5 state tournaments in 6 years, kind of the man, right? He told me
Yeah.
from day one, he said, you won't be the man here, like everybody. So we got Chris Wolf, it's been the state championship football games. We got a great baseball team, uh, softball team, girls soccer, boys soccer, like uh, everybody's successful at Male. And so, like you said, one of the reasons, like I love the fact that when we took 2002 was the last time they'd won the region. And I just told Coach Kelsey, I want to be sitting at the table every year. Doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
going to win it. You're not going to win it every year, not in the
Yeah.
seventh region. But I want us to be a problem where we're one of the teams that everybody's talking about. I think we've done that. We've won it in 20, 22, 23. Uh, and I think we got a great shot to win it here in the next few years. And so it's hard. We understand that. But I feel like male basketball is the premier high school in the state. I do feel that way, and I'm sure there's other coaches that feel the same way about their team. And so, but I really feel like I've got a great job. I got great support from administration, and it's an honor for me to be able to coach those kids every day.
Yeah. Coach, AAU is getting wound back up. A lot of July and August guys are going to be caught up with this. Summer ball's over. I know you're very happy with how summer ball went, obviously going 17-0, beating some of the top teams, not just in Kentucky, but in Ohio. So it was a big test. The guys are getting recruited. They're in positive headspaces, and a lot of them's going to be traveling around the country in the next few weeks, playing at the highest level. Rock Hill, Richmond, Virginia, everywhere, man. Everyone's going to be playing. Ultimately, Coach, how ready are you to get these guys back, get in the gym, and get back to work? Get this season started.
I'm ready, so I'm gonna go up to Rock Hill and watch them play here in about a week.
Mm.
And so when the dead period's over, then and then we'll start our individual workouts and weightlifting and get back in the gym. I'm looking for, the thing about it is I miss being around the guys. Like I love what
Mm.
I do for a living, and so you miss the relationships. You miss just being around the guys, around the coaching staff, and all that. During the dead period, but it's also a great time for me to be able to spend time with my family and
Mm.
I got 3 little ones, and it's awesome being able to have them in the gym with me, and with Leah, and just being able to spend time with them, and us doing it. We can't do this. We got to have we're all about family at Mel Basketball,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it without my family, without Leah and the kids. And so when you got great support at home, it makes everything easy.
For sure, Coach. That was one thing I kind of wanted to touch on, family, things like that, but also kind of going into it even more. The fan base and the staff you have at Mill is great, man. There are a lot of very talented guys on that staff with you who know basketball, and they all bring something different to the table. That's one thing that I always say. It's like all those guys can relate to a player on a different way, and they can all do something the other one might not be able to. So that's one thing I really like about your staff, man. Coach, before I bother you too long, before we'll obviously have you get off here, uh, send something off to that male community because man, it's strong and there's a lot of them. Coach, there's a big fan base in Louisville for the Louisville Male Bulldogs.
Well, I just want to say, man, I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Man, can't wait to get the football season going. Really excited about getting a new turf stadium, new turf field. So that's really going to be exciting for our school. And so we're just looking forward to getting out there and and seeing all the male people, and then hopefully we can get rolling on basketball. I think it's got a chance to be a great year for us,
Yeah.
and we're really looking forward to it. So.
Well, Coach, it's always good talking to you, man. I'm excited to see you down in South Carolina. That's going to be a good time. And I appreciate you coming on, Coach. I expect to talk to you again soon. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Man, thanks so much, Joe, for having me on.
Of course. Coach, I'll talk to you again soon. Coach Tim Haworth of Louisville Mill, one of the greats, man. Whenever he hangs it up, he's going to be an instant first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be up there with the greatest KHSAA coaches we've ever had at the basketball level. But I've got a weird feeling that he's not close to done yet. He's got a lot longer to go. I want to appreciate everybody who came in here and watched that little interview with Coach Haworth. It's dead period. A lot of people's busy. A lot of people's on vacation. So I knew getting a guest would be a little harder, but I knew if there's always someone that I wanted to talk to and get on the show, Tim Haworth is the guy, man. So appreciate Tim Haworth for coming on to the show. Let's transition the show a little bit. And go to a different kind of part of the show. Now it's just me talking to our group. Thanks for everybody for tuning into the show, man. We got a lot of people in here right now. I hope everybody's doing well. It's dead period, which is a lot of people's favorite time, and it's a lot of people's least favorite time. A lot of people don't like the dead period. A lot of people love it. A lot of people want to get away with it. A lot of people say we don't need it. This is just taking more time out of guys playing and getting their name out there. But we haven't. So let's just kind of talk about it a little bit. Gonna have another show coming up soon, hopefully. Looking for some sponsors right now. Would like to add some new businesses and sponsor to the group for these next upcoming shows in the next 5 weeks. If you'd be interested, I'd absolutely love to have you. Contact me, text me, get in contact with me. Let's promote your business to the fullest, man. And but like I said, I appreciate everybody tuning in early. So for those watching that'd love to be interested, let's get to work and let's do it. Make sure to follow our social medias. The Joe Show on IG has been one that I'm really going to a lot recently, trying to promote it as much. But also follow Next Up Recruits on Twitter, YouTube, and all the social medias you have. It's always something that's always going to be popping. Next Up Recruits is one of the most followed scouting services in the country, regardless of what you're talking about. It's in the conversations with Next Up. I mean, it's in the conversations with On3 24/7. It's obviously the number one Kentucky scouting service, but all around it has over 150,000 followers across all websites. It's in constant contact with Division I and college basketball coaches, and it is the absolute move. It's not a charged scouting service. We don't charge kids. It's not really something like that. A lot of it is just free promo. Our goal is to put the kids first and promote them and put them onto the coaches. We're trying to get guys recruited. So another big thing that I want to talk about, obviously staying in the direction of Next Up Recruits, is right here to the right of me. I believe that's what it would be. The Next Up Recruits Camp. It's September 13th, 2025. And let me just be honest with you. This is about to be one of the best camps, if not the best camps, the state of Kentucky's ever seen. And the other camps that it's in competition with are Next Up Recruits camps. Next Up Recruits camps have always kind of been the wave. They've always kind of been the mecca. Taylor Hicks, Wes Hinton, the guys have always put the best talent on the floor, whether if it's a camp in Ohio, but their Kentucky camps have always been elite, man. Last year, they didn't do it. Next Up Recruits, we did not do a camp last year, but it's back and it's in full pledge this year. What makes this camp special is the exposure. Playing in front of not just Next Up Recruits, but all the top scouting service in the state of Kentucky. Every scouting service that ranks or writes articles or reports on kids will be in the building. And that's something big for your kid. You're not just getting promoted and talked about and wrote on about us, but also from all the other scouting services. So it's going to be a perfect place to boost your kid, to promote your kid, put them on the site, put them on scene. And that's going to be big time because that's what a lot of kids need now. That's why the 2029, 2028s are signing up so heavy right now because they want their name out there. And it's going to help those guys a lot. But there's going to be so many college basketball coaches in the building. College coaches from the NAIA, D2, D3, JUCO, USCAA, all levels under Division I will be there. Obviously, we'd have Division I there if we could, but we can't due to the not being a live period. So that's one thing that sucks. But ultimately, it's going to be filled with college basketball coaches. I've been talking to a lot of them. There's going to be a lot there. There's Division II schools coming from out of the state, JUCOs out of the state. There's going to be colleges from everywhere. So it's not just you're playing in front of the common, maybe NAIs. You think that they'll see everybody in Kentucky. No, it's going to be exposure to all of the top JUCO, D2, D3s, not just around here, but all around the states. So it's going to be a really good exposure event, not just for getting your name out there, but for getting your name in front of coaches and playing in front of coaches. I'd be lying to you if I said that it wasn't filling out quick. It's selling out very quick. Spots are limited, and I highly recommend you get signed up now and as quick as possible. Registration ends September 6th, so I can no guarantee that it'll be open then. Now, I can't guarantee that we'll have room, but say something happens and you have to wait a little bit, you'll be fine. We can make it happen. But it might not be worth taking that risk, so I would definitely get signed up now and get registered. It's going to be one of the best camps you've ever been to. That's a promise. Free t-shirt included. The Next Up t-shirts. It was one of the most rock t-shirts for a little bit. We're trying to get them back out there, and we're trying to get more and more people to get them a shirt. Darren, I see you asked, Joe's our cutoff date for signing up for Next Up? Yes, September 6th, 1 week before the camp starts. So you'll have the opportunity to sign up. I highly recommend it, man. It's going to be at Asbury University. So one thing that's also cool about it is you kind of get a college visit with it. You get to see Asbury University. You get to see the stadium. You get to play on the court. You get to be seen by all of Asbury's staff. So that's what makes it really cool. And while we love doing it there. So I'm really excited for that. And like I said, the media is going to be crazy. National media. National. Slam Magazine's coming. It's hard to find a guy who's better with a camera than Lavelle Martin. He's going to have over 6 cameras there. He's going to be set up. I'll be there, obviously, doing my thing. I don't think I'm that great, but I'd like to be there, kind of put my name out there. NIL agencies will be in the building. There will be guys there watching, entrepreneurs. There'll be a lot of people there. What I'm trying to get across to you guys is that this is going to be the best bang for your buck camp you can go to. It's going to be a must attend. So many kids have signed up. If you've seen, we're obviously pumping these graphics out like crazy of the top kids to see, and there's even more I got to post when I get off here. So that's what makes it special, man. I'm really excited for this camp. I think it's going to be great. And that's one thing I really wanted to promote. You can use that QR code right to my left right here to scan and sign up for camp. You can also look at all the social media posts about the graphics. You can look at the pin post on Next Up Twitter, and it has the register here button. You can register for that camp. Now I want to say for our show, let's talk about the show a little bit. I want to thank all of our sponsors, man, because it's not possible without them. The Road Ahead Trucking Podcast. Imagine if everybody watching this show was involved in the truck industry. That's stuff you want to hear about. You want to hear what's going on around the country. You want to hear ideas. You want to hear advice. That's what the Road Ahead Podcast does. It's similar to the Joe Show if we were in that realm. That's what they do, man. They keep you up to date. It's a good podcast. It's a good listening experience. I want to thank the Road Ahead for sponsoring the show. Pelican Snowball, the Lockharts, Salem and Jill. If you want a sweet treat, and if you're in South Central Kentucky, there's not a better spot to go than Pelican Snowball. It's affordable. They're big, man. These things are huge. I'm telling you, dude. These things, you can get an extra large snow cone, and they're about as big as a 2-liter. I mean, these things are huge, and that's what makes them so awesome. It's a great positive environment to be there. They have nice scenery around the building. They always have the huge blue chair you can sit on and take pictures in, and their ownership and the people around them are great. They do a lot of work for the community. They help out a lot of people. So that's what kind of makes Pelican so special to me. Stice Insurance Agency, my guy, Ryan Stice, he's been a part of the group for a while now. He started in Emmons County, Kentucky. He's expanded and branched out to Bowling Green, Kentucky now. He does home, auto, life, and even more business insurance. And that's what makes him special. He's an easy guy to work with. Met him a few months back. We talked on a panel together. He's a super good guy. I'm a real big fan of Coach Ryan Stice. And then H&W Dukes is our newest sponsor we've added on. We actually debuted that show with Josh Case, which was probably 3 or 4. I think that was 4 shows ago. So we've had H&W Dukes on for not the longest on here, but I'm excited to keep them on. They're great. Josh Case, Chris Gooden. There's so many people. Sean Horde, the man. There's so many people that makes H&W Dukes special. They are the absolute largest and biggest family-owned shirt distributor in the state of Kentucky. They're one of the biggest distributors with all of Adidas around the country. I'm talking anywhere, man. People that produce and promote Adidas merchandise, they're up there at the very top. So that's what makes them so special, man. And they're great. They're really, really great, honestly, and they're special. And that's why I'm really glad to have them on here because it feels like I've always heard of H&Dukes. I always knew what H&Dukes was and their sportswear, so adding them was big time to me. United Country Real Estate and Auction is Chris Gravel, the Gravel man. Chris Gravel is like the Swiss Army knife. He can do a little bit of everything from auction to LLC. I mean, he does everything. Real estate. He also does auctioning. Heavy active on social media, selling new homes, being involved with new houses and things such. So You had the opportunity to work with him. He can do a little bit of everything. He's a guy that a lot of people might need right now. A lot of people are still in their homes getting involved with that. So I highly recommend Chris Gravel. Big fan of the Gravel family. They are very active. And let's talk about one of his family members, Roy Gravel, with Gravel Funeral Home. Roy Gravel is the longest tenured, I guess you would say, sponsor on this show. I've had him for well over a year and 3 months now sponsoring the Joe Show. I really appreciate Roy Gravel for sponsoring the podcast. Roy Gravel's Funeral Home is based in Brownsville, Kentucky. Gravel Funeral Home is cheap, it's affordable, and it's something that people can get their hands on. You know, when you're in that time of need, when you're in that moment, when you have to deal with that call, and when you have to deal with that, you want it to be easy. You want to work with someone that's able to comply with you and make the thing and make the life a lot easier in those moments. And that's what Roy does, and he's also affordable. And that's what I really like about Mr. Roy Gravel. I'm excited to keep him on the sponsor list and have him rolling into these next 5 weeks. Our behind-the-scenes guy, the man who makes everything happen, Ronald Scott Lindsay. Just like Roy Gravel, he's been sponsoring from the very beginning. So I really appreciate Mr. Ronald Scott Lindsay, Judge Executive of Brownsville, Edmonson County, Kentucky. So big thanks to him. And then our last, but certainly not least, our show sponsor is Clark Agritech Applicators. And that is Cooper Clark, young entrepreneur out of Edmonson County, Kentucky. He does a lot of work in the 3rd and 4th region. The guy's work circles around his tail. So, I mean, the man is busy as it gets. He's a young entrepreneur, like I said. So I really enjoy working for them and everything like that. Tim Page asked me, he said, is there a camp for the girls? So like this, there are camps going around the state of Kentucky, and I will promote that, and I will talk about that a little bit. My guy, Coach Q at Griffin Elite, they have a camp every year that does girls basketball at a high level. He does it with boys as well. He's actually promoting his camp right now, so I want to mention that, Coach Q and the Kentucky Elite Camp. They did it last year. It was a good experience. I enjoyed being there. Xander Carter walked away with their belt they gave away. I got to talk to all the guys, got to hang out with Q. Really proud of what Q's doing at Dunbar. He coached some games for Griffin today, and he's also managing doing a whole entire camp. So, you know, Coach Q's a busy guy. But yes, Tim, he will be doing a camp for girls basketball, and that's going to be one you can sign up and register for. Look at Coach Steve Quattarucci on social media. It'll be Facebook. It'll be Twitter, and he has registration for the camp, how you can attend the camp, where you can go to sign up for all that and get everything out. So if you're interested in a girls basketball camp, an elite camp, that's the one to go to. That's the one I highly recommend. And I wanted to plug that. Good question, Tim. I appreciate you mentioning that. And yes, there is. Next Up Recruits only does men's basketball, only does boys basketball at around the country. It's been set up like that since 2012 when it was set up and made. So not really something on my end I can give you an exact answer for, but it's just boys basketball. And then, like I said, for the girls camp, I highly recommend Coach Q's Kentucky Elite Camp at Prep Hoops. They do a really good job with it. Prep Hoops does a lot of work with girls basketball, and that's the move for a girls basketball camp. So I highly recommend that for sure. But yes, I appreciate you guys leaving comments. Travis Sanders, my guy, tuning in. You're the man. Appreciate you, Travis. You're the man as well. Hopefully we can get Camden out to camp. That'd be big time. I think he's actually already signed up, so I'm excited to have Camden to camp. But like I said, man, right now is a good period because it's a little bit of a dead period. Coaches and players are kind of free to do what they want. They got a little bit of free time. They can work. They can get stuff done off the floor. So it's a good time. As much as some people hate it, it is a good time to kind of sit back and enjoy. And when I'm trying to think of when our next show will be, I don't have an exact answer. Hopefully soon. I'm trying to think of some people we can get. With it being dead period, you obviously can't pair up the players and coaches on the show, so that hurts a little bit. But I will be down in South Carolina from the 14th through the 20th at EYBL Peach Jam, checking out all the top competition on the Nike circuit. Went to it in Memphis, man. If you've never experienced it, if you've never watched it, it's a must-see. You know, those experiences are something different. EYBL and Nike just does it differently, man. So I'm excited to go down there and cover it. Will not be at Adidas. I might be able to slide for a day, but probably will not be at Adidas and Rock Hill. Won't be able to make out some of the Pro 16 and Puma. So we're going to have guys there keeping us updated a little bit. I highly recommend all the parents keep me updated. Talk to me about the schedule. Talk to me about how games are going. Talk to me about the scores. Talk to me about stats. I want to promote these guys as well. Even if we aren't able to see them, you can still shoot us a text message. You can still shoot me stats. You can still send me videos, and we can make sure we still promote these guys, even if I'm not able to see them in person. So that's another big time crucial thing. If you guys can be a big benefit like that, I really appreciate it. But like I said, this month is big. It's a big time month. It's July. This is when AAU wraps up. The circuits wrap up. Obviously, we still got our local fun tournaments in the state of Kentucky in August and September. And honestly, sometimes AAU doesn't necessarily end. So, but on the circuit level, This is the last month. You have Peach Jam, you have Rock Hill, you have Pro 16, the UA Rise circuit, Next Pro. Everything's kind of rounding up and coming to an end. So it's sad because because AAU is amazing. I love AAU. I highly recommend it to any kid that's not playing it. It's just on another level. And I say this respectfully. I say this real, man. I'm praying for all the kids going out there and playing this month. I want to see it all go injury free. I don't want to see guys get hurt. I'm hoping for success. I want to see these guys get recruited, and I hope everything goes super well. And I believe it will, and I'm fully confident it will. A lot of kids are going to be receiving offers this month. A lot of kids are going to be getting that text message from a coach. Look, man, we're looking at you. We're interested. We like what you have. A lot of coaches are going to be there with their clipboards and their assistants. That's always one of the coolest things. Playing in front of college coaches it's just surreal, man. And I know those guys will really enjoy it. So I'll be at Peach Jam for Nike for it. And then EYBL Session 3 is actually before in Orlando. So there's going to be basketball going on everywhere, man. Yes, it's the off season. Yes, it's the dead period, but this stuff don't end, man. There's never really a cool down, I feel like, for Kentucky high school basketball. So I'm really excited for it. Like I said, if you missed earlier, we had Coach Tim Haworth of Louisville Mail on the show. For more than half the show, his camera was black. I think he had gotten a phone call on his phone during the middle of the show. Sometimes that can mess with the camera and things, but you can still hear the full audio. You can still see him for probably the first 5-6 minutes of the show. We talked about all things Louisville Mail basketball and the Bulldogs. They look like a competitor, man. They look like possibly the contender, the number one team in the Kentucky high school basketball coming off of summer. I'm sure a lot of rankings, KSR, all those guys who put out rankings of Kentucky high school basketball, I have a pretty confident feeling that Louisville Mail is going to be number one on a lot of those lists. But there's a lot of other teams around the state that's competing at a high level. The 11th and the 7th region look really, really, really good again. The third region has a lot of talent in Davis County, Grayson County, Meade County, many more I'm not talking about. Henderson, Lyon County in the second, McCracken in the first, Callaway, Marshall. Here's the thing. If I sit here and talk about every single region, I will leave a team off. So I'm just saying it's such a loaded state right now with talent. Last year, it's going to be hard to beat last year, man. We sent 20 kids Division I. We had a really good state tournament. We had a really good all-around year. There was upsets. There was everything. And don't even get me started on the year before with Harlan County and Lyon County. So, there's always a crap ton of upsets. There's always a really eventful state tournament. There's always teams that, like Coach Haworth said earlier, shouldn't make it that far, but they do. They get hot at the right time, and it's not all about talent. A lot of it's about coaching. A lot of it's about making runs at the right time. And a lot of it matters about those people in those blue seats, your fan base there to cheer you on. Last year, I don't think anybody was necessarily proud of the crowds at KHSA State Tournament. It was a good crowd. There was a lot of people there, but I think we all wanted to see even more people there. And hopefully this year, with it going back to its regular schedule and everything, there will be more people there. But we're talking about something. I'm talking about an event right now that won't happen until 8 to 9 months from now. We still got to start school. We still have to go through the regular season. So we're looking really far into the future right now talking about that. But, we still got a lot of ways to go. Darren talking to me again, send another comment. You're going to Peach Jam. Awesome. Hopefully we'll see you there. Of course, man, hopefully I'll see you guys there. Bates Fundamental with Connor Morgeson. If you don't know about Connor Morgeson is a 2028 out of George Rogers Clark. Dude's electric. I had him play a little bit of AAU for me not too long ago. I put together a fun team when there was a dead period back in May. Dude's a bucket. Connor Morgeson can score on just about anybody in this state. First time I really talked about Connor was to one of his friends, Montez Gay, at George Rogers Clark. And Montez kept it honest with me. He said, when you're talking about a straight bucket getter, a guy who can get a bucket, Connor Morgeson is that guy. I compared him to the high school Steph Curry. I'm a big fan of Connor Morgeson and the impact he makes. He looks like he continues to grow and get bigger and improve as a player. So I'm really interested to see how he pans out 2 to 3 years from now. He's a 2028, so he's still got a long ways to go. But I know Coach Cook really, really likes Connor. I know the GRC family and community really likes Connor, so I'm excited to see how his development goes and where he is, like I said, 2-3 years from the road from now. But, guys, we're rolling in on 50 minutes. I didn't know how long this show would last today. I didn't know how long me and Coach Haworth would go. I didn't know how long I'd be on here talking after. But I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show today. It's a month full of AAU coming up, and it's going to be loaded. Like I said, sign up for Next Up Recruits Camps, all right. the #1 Kentucky high school basketball boys camp, elite exposure camp, play in front of college coaches, get that free college visit, and get your name out there, get interviewed, get talked to. It's going to be a great environment, man. And I'm really excited for everybody to come out and play in front of all these people. And I'm excited to see everybody there. I'll be in attendance. So like I said, there's a lot of camps going on right now. There's a lot of things going on right now. Being a basketball parent right now is probably busy. I couldn't imagine. So we're going into Peach Jam. We're going into Rock Hill. We're going into all these July AAU circuits. I wish everybody the best of luck. Hope everyone stays healthy. Not sure if we'll do another show before a lot of them send off around the 12th and 13th. Hopefully we will. That's a week from now. But like I said, I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show today. Tune into another show. We'll be live again soon. I really hope you guys can tune in and watch. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show today. We were joined by the Hall of Famer, man, the legend, Coach Tim Haworth, former Hoptown head coach. Now he's the head coach at Louisville Male. Dude's been killing it. He's a legend. Like I said, he gave another great interview. I think that's appearance number 3 on the Joe Show, so I love having him on. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll make another appearance soon. I got some guests I already want to get on here. So like I said, appreciate everybody tuning in. Join us on the next episode. Go watch the Summer League. Go watch the NBA Summer League. It's on right now. Go check out some of the top rookies going into the NBA this year. That's exactly where I'm going after this. I'm pretty sure I just seen the Warriors beat the Lakers, so that one hurts a little bit. But go check it out. Go watch. And like I said, God bless everybody. Have a safe month. Enjoy this month. And I'll talk to everybody again soon. I appreciate everybody tuning into the Joe Show. This has been your host, Joseph Decker.